When American revolutionaries established a new government based on the sovereignty of the people, it was truly a radical idea. The power of the nation was not entrusted to a monarchy, but to its citizens. Each generation since continues to debate and shape this bold experiment. The Smithsonian's exhibition, Voices and Votes: Democracy in America, explores questions sparked by that revolution. Who are the people? Whose voice will be heard? How do we spark participation? And what are the rights and responsibilities of citizens? In late 2019, the Smithsonian went into towns hosting the exhibition to further examine these questions with community members. Although their views are unique and may be different from our own, can we find commonalities and opportunities for conversation? Where do you see yourself in this evolving story of American democracy? Democracy is defined as government by the people, typically through elected representatives. But what does it mean to be a part of the people or to be a citizen? Our founding documents don't answer these vital questions. Every generation since the Revolution has faced the unique challenges of their time by embracing and expanding our vision of democracy. What does democracy mean to you? State Senator Ana Tere Flores of Florida grew up being taught to value democracy from her parents and grandparents. They fled communist Cuba in the 1950s when people's voices were being silenced.
My parents, my grandparents came to this country and the United States embraced them fully. And I think it's because of that experience that the importance of a representative democracy is something that was always so important to myself and for my family, because we were so close to a generation that had that freedom taken away from them. So I think what democracy ultimately means, I would say, is two things. One is freedom, but the second is responsibility. It's incredibly important for a democracy to thrive, for citizens, constituents, residents to be responsible and informed when they make the decisions that they make to improve our democracy.
For State Senator James Sturch of Arkansas, American democracy means opportunity for anyone willing to participate in it, including a poor kid from a rural community.
I really think that today in our political arena, it seems like we have more opportunities now to know more than anything else. We have instant connection almost to the decisions that the Congress is making, to the state legislature is making, and now even what our mayors and city councilmen are making. That's the great thing about our American democracy today, is the information age has really allowed people to have access to their government and to politics in general. To me, that's a great thing. It puts a lot of responsibility on the citizen, but it's a whole lot of more opportunity then besides just voting to have input. Like I said, you can have input all along the way.
Like many teenagers, Charlotte of Florida has strong opinions on important social issues, but often does not feel heard. But she sees democracy as offering opportunities to find her voice and make an impact.
A lot of people you'll hear just be like, oh, our country is so torn apart right now, we're so polarized, like we don't listen to one another. And through my experience with my community, that's not really the case, because like I've stated earlier, the teenagers in my community, we've seen that and we're like, we're gonna have no part in that. There's no reason why we should be polarized or torn apart. And I found that the young people are actually very open-minded to different sides, whether you're conservative or liberal, it doesn't matter. We've found a way where we can be civil about things. And that's something we've seen lacking in generations before. So as we progress through time and as we progress as young voters and political activists, we strive for open-mindedness and, really coming together with what America stood for in the first place, which is just this melting pot of ideas and, hope for the future, and going back to that and remembering why we were founded, the way we were founded, and how we can continue that legacy as we grow and build.
Honest dialogue, can help fulfill the promise of America's founding. Jimmy Cunningham Jr. of Arkansas is the director of the Delta Rhythm and Bayous Alliance. For Cunningham, open conversations on tough issues will move all of us forward.
I think in my community, there are systems in place, there are political orders and constructs that exist that people sort of have been conditioned to accept. And each generation sort of passes some of this along to the next generation. But what I find very often is that people fear having honest conversations around issues of race, around issues of religion, around issues of gender, issues of class. Many of those kinds of big societal issues can begin to diminish with real courageous dialogue where people sit down and they understand why there is anger, angst, fear, just a variety of inhibiting factors in a community that keep systems in place and power elements in place, but don't promote nearly as much change over time. I think the simple act of honest dialogue within the citizenry can make a huge difference for some of the bigger issues that we face in our democracy.
Where do you see yourself in this dialogue? Tell a story about the meaning of democracy to you. Share your story with a friend and search for other Voices and Votes programs in your community. Or talk back to the Smithsonian by visiting museumonmainstreet.org and let us hear your story.